Game day Winnipeg set to go. CFL Week 5. Darrin bombing, and to my virtual right, the legendary Chris Walby. Bluto, what's going on? It's Friday. Bombers are in Vancouver Saturday night. Are you ready for this marquee matchup? Maybe the first in the CFL this season between the 4-0 Bombers and the 3-0 surprising BC Lions.
And I think when you look at that, DB, and to answer your question, yes, I am looking forward to this. I watched last night's game. I was anticipating a better battle of Alberta, and Calgary looked so dang good, man. I mean, 49-3 over Edmonton. Now, I mean, they're 1-4 Edmonton right now, I believe. You wonder, is there a leash on Chris Jones now? I mean, that's the thing I'm looking at, because they have some issues there, buddy. Arbuckle, they paid him a lot of money. Remember, he was going to be the savior in Ottawa.
I don't think they paid him that much money.
Trey Ford looked good until he got hurt.
Well, I mean, I want you to talk about Nathan Rourke, the other Canadian quarterback.
Okay. I'll talk about
we'll get into Edmonton and all the other things now, but I'm going to keep you on track headed into the weekend here, Chris. Is Nathan Rourke for real from what you've seen in him? He's thrown for over 300 yards in each of his starts this season, top performer in the CFL for the month of June. He's like their leading rusher often, like he was last game, 87 yards. James Butler, their tailback, is making things happen. Brian Burnham down right now, but Keon Hatcher steps up. He had 180 yards or something like that last week. The Lions are tearing things up right now, but their wins have come over teams that are maybe struggling a little bit.
Well, I'll say that, but listen, I've said this before, that I think the Red Blacks are a good team. I think that Paul LaPolice is going to get that team. I think they right now are the best team in the East. And they gave BC a run for their money. I mean, if you watch that game, it was a great game. They picked off Nathan twice. He fumbled the ball. What I like about Nathan Rourke is his composure. A lot of times a rookie, and I know he played last year a little bit. He had one start. A lot of times a rookie gets flustered and, he's not calm. It's like a different guy back there right now. And listen, when you think about this, and I always look at the stats, and I know I'm not a stat guy, but 3 games, their offense is averaging, and this is mind-blowing, 45.7 points. When you go through the stat sheets for CFL, they're number one in so many categories. It's ridiculous. But having said that, you're right. But I think this matches up really interesting to me. Nathan Rourke, I found a stat that I really liked. He's had 39 offensive drives, 16 touchdowns, 41% of the time he scores a touchdown. The Bombers have 51 offensive drives, 6 touchdowns, 11.8%. That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
But the biggest difference to me, I think Nathan Rourke is going to benefit from a much, much better offensive line coached by Kelly Bates, who just took over midway through last year and turned that offensive line around. I mean, remember, we talked about this. Michael Riley played half the game on his back. And so it's really nice to see a team gel the right way. I think it's 15 years since the BC Lions started 3-0. This is a good team. Listen, if ever there's a fan out in the CFL right now, if there ever is somebody who wants to watch a great game, I'm anticipating a great game. I really am. The Bombers still got a good defense, and that's the thing. We got so much to cover, but I'll say this. Nothing gets my juices flowing than watching 2 unbeaten teams. And BC Place has really done, the new owner out there has done, like we talked about, done a great job of creating an atmosphere. I'm really looking forward to the game. I just hope it lives up to the hype.
No question. Oh, can you still hear me, Chris?
I hear you. You disappeared, man. What are you doing, the show from the closet?
I think my camera is not happy with me right now, but that's okay.
I'll just carry the show, man, like I always do. Hi,
exactly.
It's my show now.
I'll get that
not with us.
I'll get that straightened out in just a second, but thanks to everybody who's watching live on Facebook and YouTube right now, or if you're watching on Twitter, head over to youtube.com/bonfire sports, and you can join the live chat as well. And what we can do, well, we can pull up your comment just like this. Booch says, if you take Nathan Rourke's quick slant passing lanes away, he will struggle. I too see that in Nathan Rourke. He likes to get the ball out of his hands quickly and early. And to no surprise, he is a young quarterback. So they've built this offensive system. Jordan Maximic, their offensive coordinator, knowing full well that a second-year player, a 24-year-old in Nathan Rourke, we know what his skill set is. We know he's young and inexperienced. Let's give him an option to operate quickly and fast.
Well, the obviously how you defend that, you drop somebody in that quick slant lane, right? Sometimes he'll drop Willie Jefferson. And that's how he's got interceptions all the time. But I say this, I've watched Nathan Rourke throw a 40-yard ball and drop it on a dime over the shoulder to a receiver right by the outside, of the outside of the field. A beautiful throw. So he's made some beautiful throws. Listen, he's not all about quick slants all the time. But, yeah, that's what you want. That's how you get any quarterback. Watch Zach Collaros. Watch any quarterback. You want to get him in a rhythm early. So they want to get rid of the ball quickly, they do the little short dink and dunk passes, and they get going, and then they start going deeper. So, Boosh, it's a good line. I agree with you a little bit, but I'm also going to say I also think that this kid is not as bad as I don't think he's going to struggle too much if you take that read away, put it that way.
No, I don't think he'll struggle either, Chris, but you do have to admit this is the biggest challenge Nathan Rourke has ever faced.
Oh, absolutely.
On the professional level. He's got to go up against a vaunted defensive front led by Jefferson and Jeffcoat, Casey Sales and Jake Thomas, amongst others in the middle. Adam Bighill spying you from the middle linebacker spot. Like, it doesn't matter what quarterback is in the league. They're daunted when number 4 is lining up across the way. We see Adam Bighill. Like, I was talking to a couple coaches just last night, and not CFL coaches, but elite amateur coaches. And they're talking about like Adam Bighill playing at a level at this age. He could be playing his best football right now. He's flying all over the place. That athletic move he made on the late interception last week. Like, the guy can just like flip himself into the air at the drop of a dime and make a play to help his teammates. It's unbelievable to think how good Adam Bighill is playing right now.
Well, let's just throw this out there right now. I mean, we're only, not even a quarter into the season or a third into the season. But I'll say this, he's playing as good as football. And I actually put on Twitter, he's a beast. He times his rushes perfectly, whether it's come from the outside or the inside. He punishes you. We saw the hits he's done a couple times. We saw him hit last week on the quarterback. He's always around the ball. Like you said, then he gets drops. And that's one of the biggest things. You can have a middle linebacker that's good at blitzing, but you also have a middle linebacker that can actually drop into that and take away those deep balls in the middle. He's done a fantastic job. And as far as my mind is right now, he's a top player. We blow a lot about, a lot of smoke up Jefferson and Jeffcoat right now. Willie does pick his spots, and he makes big plays. But right now, I think the guy that's, to me, the guy that's really making me notice him more and more, even after he's won 3 most outstanding defensive players, is Adam Bighill.
Yeah. No, it's unbelievable. I'm just beyond impressed, as everybody is, of Adam Bighill right now. And I think for Nathan Rourke, it's not being intimidated by the task in front of him. It's going to be fascinating to watch Saturday night in this battle of unbeatens and a great marquee matchup between these two West Division powers. Calgary, of course, also undefeated and tied with Winnipeg for first in the West at 4-0. They laid the boots to the Edmonton Elks in the second installment of the Battle of Alberta so far this season. They play Edmonton 4 times this year. That is going to help Calgary's record. They've already won 2. 2 more meetings against more of an upstart team in Edmonton. It'll be interesting to see how the West Division shakes out. I don't think anybody expected the BC Lions to be as good as they have been to start. But Chris, let's keep it in context here, right? The BC Lions in week 1 beat up the Elks 59-15, and everyone's like, whoa, are the Elks that bad or are the Lions that good? Week 2, they had a bye. So they got training camp to prepare for their first game. Then they play a game. Then they get a bye week to prepare for their second game. So lots of prep time ahead of those games, and they win 44-3 at home again to the Toronto Argonauts, or win against the Toronto Argonauts. Then what happens? Then they have a regular week, and they go on the road, and they win by 3 against a team with still no wins this season, 34-31 over the Ottawa Red Blacks on June 30th. So this is a team that has had tons of prep time ahead of their 2 monster wins. And then they go on the road. Nathan Rourke looked human through 2 interceptions. Yes, he threw for 300 yards. Yes, he led the game in rushing with 87 on the ground, had that 50-yard run early in the game for a touchdown. But he looked human. He looked beatable, which he did not look in those first 2 games. So it's going to be a challenge. This is just my thought, Chris. With the short week for Winnipeg, 5 days between games in Toronto, 3 time zones west to Vancouver, I think it helps that it's a 6 o'clock Winnipeg start, 4 o'clock in Vancouver on Saturday. So that'll help them in adjusting at playing at more of a regular time, not like a 7 or 8 o'clock on the West Coast, 9 or 10 here. But I think these games are getting more difficult as far as the intangible things around them for BC. Less prep time, tougher competition.
Well, I agree. I think you hit a lot of things on the head there. Nathan Rourke, I mean, when he started last year, he was flustered. They got to him. And I think I was listening to Richie Hall, the defensive coordinator, talk about we have to get in his head. We have to make him hold that football. And that's why I think that you're right. I think that the Bomber defense, if they can get there and get some pressure on them, that helps the secondary. Conversely, if the secondary can do a great job of making, Nathan hold that football, good things are going to happen. Listen, he's had 3 great games. He's a winner. He's winning. And actually, if you listen to the kid talk, he doesn't like it, the fact that it's all about him right now. Yes, he was the performer of the month. He doesn't like that. He says it's a team game. It's not about me. And he's very uncomfortable with putting all that weight on his shoulders. But when you start off the way he did, and, the way they run the football, their number 1 rushing team, 161 yards. It's
crazy.
You saw Nathan Rourke do that. He's done this. I don't know how people don't scout this. All he goes is around the outside on a short yardage. You don't think Bombers going to be ready for that?
Oh, yeah.
Come on, fellas. You got to figure that out, man. After he's done it about 3-4 times already in the first 3 games. There's no way the Bombers are going to let him get to the outside. Now, is he going to go in the inside? Yeah, he probably will. He's a young kid. He's 24. He's strong. He's fresh. Hasn't been hitting hardly at all. And I know that some guys don't think his O-line is that good. I think they've really improved. And that's one place I think that any new quarterback, and you know this as well as I do, if you don't have the guys protecting you, you could be the superstar.
Right.
You could be, John Elway. I don't care who you are. You're going to, you know what? You're going to be counting clouds. You're not going to be throwing a ball downfield. Now your eyes are on the rusher instead of where you're trying to throw the football. So, to all the naysayers, I think BC is a team on the rise. Are they where they need to be? I don't know. I mean, I've watched them play until you say sometimes you think they played inferior, but I still say this. Yeah, the first 2 games maybe, because I'm not sold on Toronto, and I'm not sold on Edmonton, especially after yesterday.
Sure. Well, and now Trey Ford is going to be injured for a while. He's got a collarbone issue.
Well, that's the thing right there, right? And I thought the kid might be good. I mean,
he looks good.
I saw him break away from a potential sack and make a play downfield.
He's athletic, no question.
But the problem is if you don't stay healthy, it doesn't matter who you are, right?
Right.
I mean, he took a short yardage or he took off on a run and he got hit in the right shoulder, throwing shoulder. But having said that, I watched Nathan Rourke and I watched him throw the football. And I'll tell you, he throws a dart. I mean, it's there. It ain't a flopper. It ain't a floater and wobbly all over the place.
Legit arm.
He's got Lucky Whitehead, who we all know because he was a Winnipeg Bomber before. Keon Hatchie is starting to come into his own. Dominic Rhymes, who, if you ever listen to Rick Campbell, the head coach of the BC, that's the guy he says has really, really come out and blossomed. And then they got a young kid by the name of Josh Pearson, nice young Canadian playing that wide spot. Big, lanky, 6'5" guy. So, I mean.
Oh, and Javon Catoy, don't forget about him. You want to talk about big bodies.
Right. I don't want Javon's built to pull me.
He's a big boy himself. And then let alone James Butler, right? He had 4 touchdowns in the first half of the week 1 win over Edmonton. And he looks absolutely solid. I think it's him and Kadeem Carey right now. Maybe Jamal Morrow in Saskatchewan, but Kadeem Carey with Calgary, James Butler in BC. Those are the top running backs in the CFL right now, no doubt in my mind. But you're right. There's tons of weapons.
Let me just say something that BC doesn't. I haven't seen many other teams do, and they're doing a lot this year. They're giving the ball to David Mackey, their fullback. He is
well, that was when Butler was down. Yeah.
He is a horse. 16 carries. He's averaging 5.6 yards a carry. He's got a touchdown. When you get another guy, you get a 1-2 tandem, and it makes me think of like when we had Mike Sellers here, and I can't remember who and the scat back. Who was it? The little guy.
Charles Roberts.
Yeah, Charles Roberts.
Yeah, thunder and lightning.
1-2 punch, man. And that's crazy. And that's what I think these guys have. Now, I'm not comparing David Mackey because he's no Mike Sellers, there's no doubt. Yeah. But I think James Butler, who's got 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 receiving touchdowns. I mean, they lead the league in offense, conversions. And you look at Nathan, 8 of 10 passes of 20+ yards. He's completed 8 of 10. 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's making good decisions.
Yes.
And I'm going to blow up this BC team by saying they're good. But that's what makes this game so interesting when they're going against the number 1 defense in the Bombers. That's it. And I'm telling you, I was watching a press conference, and you know this as well as I do, because you're there all the time, brother. They were asking, Buck Pierce, they're asking Michael Shea, what's up with the run game? What's up with the run game? And they all say it's going to, we're not worried about it. We'll do what we have to do. We want to win the game. We want to get the W. I need to see something from this over. I need to see something. It's time. Somebody's got
It's well past time. Well past time.
Somebody needs to shake it off. I mean, Johnny only carried the ball, I think, like 4 times last week. They're really going on Brady Oliveira, which is great. Brady's got to hit that hole. No more dancing. Hit it north-south. When we saw what Andrew Harris did, man, that kid, I tell you what, I was so happy for Andrew. Not the fact, obviously we get the win, which is great. But I love Andrew Harris. I think he's a tough guy. And you watched him hit that hole. It was almost like I was watching him as a Bomber again. Breaking tackles, spinning around, refusing to go down, running over people a few times.
Vintage. Yeah.
Vintage Harris, man. And that's what we need to get. And that's funny. I was at my doctor's today, and all he talked about was our lack of run game. And I'm like, I don't want to.
Your doctor?
Yeah, he's checking me out. I might have popped my Achilles now. So.
Yeah, goodness. The Achilles injury is what Blue Bombers weak side linebacker Kyrie Wilson is battling right now. He's been placed on the 6-game injured list. My indication, Chris, on some good sources, is that he will miss significant time. So when 6 weeks comes by, I don't think he's going to be an option. But
think about that, DB. You hurt something like that, you got to get surgery. Then rehab is a bitch. You got to work at that, and that's the hardest thing for a lot of guys, because you got to go through that pain, the stretch to get it back to where it can actually move again. Yes, the therapists today are fantastic. The Bombers have a great one in Couture. I think, but to your point, 100%. Will he be back? Man, it's tough. I was actually blown away when they asked about the loss of Kyrie to Michael O'Shea, and he went, yeah, he's a good player. He's been playing for a long time. It's nice to see him finally get recognition, because we were pumping him up last week.
Totally.
But it wasn't like, yeah, you know what? Maybe he does that because he's like, now you got, Mika coming in there and Malik, sorry.
Yep.
Maybe he's not trying to downplay the guy coming in taking his place.
Right.
But it's almost like, I was like, if I was Kyrie and I heard it, I'd be like, almost like, man, it's like they don't even miss me. I'll just take him back by it. Maybe it's just the way I interpreted the comments.
Okay.
It was just different for me.
Yeah. Well,
there's your controversy, folks.
Well, Tristan Rivers is asking, he's watching live on YouTube, does Walby have a cold one there? It is Friday afternoon. No comment? Okay. So
I love your way to keep track of that, brother. You bet.
So if Kyrie Wilson will miss significant time, I think the Blue Bombers will be okay at the point of attack with Malik Clements. Yeah, I think he's a phenomenal football player. He's experienced, more than a rookie would be. He played 7 games for the Elks in 2021. But what I've seen on him on the field when he's in there is no drop off from the level of play of the Blue Bombers linebacking core. It helps you have Adam Big Hill. It helps that Donald Rutledge is at the dime, and he's a long-armed, rangy defensive back playing that strong side linebacker spot. So things are okay there. The depth is interesting. Trey Watson cut by the Montreal Alouettes. And then Micah Awe, who asked for his release from the BC Lions. He was a member of the Blue Bombers in 2020 on paper during the
I
canceled
actually-
season. All of these guys were in the mix. Like maybe Winnipeg's going to grab a Trey Watson. Maybe they'll grab a Micah or a Micah Awe. But Awe wants to start. He's not going to come to Winnipeg and start in 2 weeks. It's Malik Clements. Mike O'Shea is always going to give that job to the guy who is capable and has been here from day one. And that's Malik Clements. It's his time and it's his spot. So I didn't see Awe signing in Winnipeg. I think he signed with the Montreal Alouettes, and then Trey Watson. Right. So those guys are all gone. I don't know if there's another linebacker out there. If the Blue Bombers want some depth, they don't have a linebacker on the practice roster. That all said, Chris, I do want to shift from the defense to the Blue Bombers offense, because I think that's where much, much more concern resides.
I just want to say one more thing on your point.
Yeah, go ahead.
About Trey Watson. He was a good football player from Montreal. There's obviously something behind the scenes that happened to him get his release.
Well, since he was released, they fired everybody there. They fired the head coach and the defensive coordinator.
I know that's another thing, but I mean, but I know he had a conversation with another player, and I don't know if it was as bad as Brandon Banks with the O-line fighting in Toronto, but he got into it with a coach as well. And one of the things that Kahari, the ex-coach of the Alouettes, was being criticized for was not being strict enough. Now, that's not him. Machocho got rid of him.
Yeah.
Now, to your point, when we lost Kyrie, would they take this kid? You know what? I don't know if he fits the culture. You don't want to bring a guy in that doesn't fit the culture, that might disrupt the rhythm you got in your locker room.
Well, FIFO, right? The FIFO on the rings, fit in, or how did Jackson Jeffcoat put it? Forfeit opportunity. But fit in or FO, right? I get that. What I've heard, Chris, in having some conversations around the league, is that the Trey Watson situation might have been mischaracterized.
Yeah.
I'm told that it was more along the lines of like Trey Watson even went on social media and stated this. He says there was no yelling. There was no screaming match. There was no expletives. He said there was no swearing or anything like that. It was a conversation about holding players accountable. So maybe he disrespected a coach by overstepping bounds, but I don't think he did it in a disrespectful way. He might have disrespected an individual by saying, you're not doing your job properly.
Yes.
Well, those guys might not be, Baron Miles was released by the Montreal Alouettes. So
and I think that's a true statement, because
could be some
biggest
gray area in there.
You know what? I remember this, and Mike Riley told me this, and our old coach who won a Grey Cup with us. When you point a finger at somebody, remember you got three pointing back at you. And that's the truth. Once you start getting into players' faces, you put yourself under the microscope.
Right.
Because you know what? It's a coach's job to criticize you. Yeah, I'm all about rah, 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 let's play, let's pick it up. But to go out there and say, hey, DB, you're freaking getting beat by that guy all game. Come on, buddy, pick it up. You know what I'm saying to you? F off. I'm coming over. You know what I mean? I'm putting something in your sub sandwich.
Well, the Montreal Alouettes have been the least disciplined team in the CFL for the last couple years. Yeah. And, Kahari Jones has been pretty much a 500 on the nose coach since he took over. They have not won a playoff game under Kahari Jones. And now you're seeing a defense that was very good in years past, not so good anymore. So when maybe your best player on defense, or at least the best young player they have on defense in Trey Watson, starts going to the coaches and saying, you got to discipline these guys, or, we're speculating of what exactly was said there, but reading between the lines and kind of collecting the information, he didn't like the way the coaches were handling things. So he simply brought it up. They decided to move on from him, whether it would, just a wrinkle in the locker room or what have you. I don't think Trey Watson is a problem, or I don't think Trey Watson is, not a culture fit or something like that. If he signed with Winnipeg or signed with Ottawa or Edmonton,
we don't know that.
We don't.
We shouldn't get fooled by all the time of what we read on Twitter too. Because if I'm on Twitter, I'm going to be the nicest cat in the world. I'm not going to tell you what's really going on. I'm going to try and say, hey, I'm looking for some sympathy here. I don't want anybody to, dump on me. But having said that, they hired Noel Thorpe, who's been in the he was just won a stint
with Montreal
championship with the Birmingham in the USFL this year. They won the USFL championship. He was defense coordinator. He has a relationship with Danny Machocho. And I said this way back when. You know what? I guarantee you that when they hired Danny Machocho as GM, there was a shadow creeping up on Kahari Jones. It was just a matter before
well, it's not his guy, right? Anytime a
Yeah.
GM didn't hire the coach, you have to think their seat is getting hotter. Paul LaPolice in Ottawa.
Yeah.
You know, Sean Burke was vice president of football ops, I believe, with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They add him as their general manager for 2022. And now Paul LaPolice is in a second season. His team's still winless entering week 5. So, you know, he wasn't the GM's guy. Kahari Jones was not Danny Machocha's guy. Machocha says he doesn't want to be the coach next season. I don't know if I completely buy that, but
no, I don't buy it either.
Let's digress away from some of those coaching moves around the league.
You know what, DB? What I like about what we're doing, and one of the things I do like about this show is we cover everything.
Yeah.
We're not going to go 100%, 120 on just, you know, the run game and bombers and the bombers and the bombers and bombers. Because after a while, man, I'm tuning you out. I love when we talk about other teams and we say, you know what, this is what's happening in Ottawa. This is happening in Calgary, Montreal, Toronto. You have to talk about the league. We only got 9 teams. But you know what? You should love this league because it's a very passionate league. And we're both very into the CFL. Obviously, you cover it better than anybody. And I've just been lucky enough to be part of it for a number of years. But having said that, you never lose that passion. But I love reading articles in the CFL news about what's happening around the league. To me, it's very interesting. And so
it's just a fascinating league to cover.
I've been in the locker room when you got a bunch of jerk-offs. Seriously, I've been there where you get guys that just don't fit. And you can't wait for them to get cut because they're dummies and they're not helping you.
I quickly want to pull up this comment from Atomic Kong, who's watching live on YouTube. And welcome to everybody who just came over from Kenny and Rennie and Winnipeg Sports Talk. He says, when he was a young lad, Walby was dating a girl on his street and the ground would shake when he came around.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Oh,
is that how you walked when you were a young punk there, Chris?
Oh, I don't remember this. I think, it's funny because, playing hockey when I played junior and, we had that unfortunate incident. We lost the championship way back. It's funny that now everybody was at that game. It's almost like when we won the Hamilton. Remember in '88 we beat Hamilton in the final or semi. And there was only, I think, 13,000 people at that game. Well, if you walk around, everybody goes, I was at that game. That must be 30,000 people tell you they saw you at the game. It's great. Hey, listen, that is crazy, man. Crazy. I listen.
There was only 9,000 at the Bombers Argos game last week.
You know
I don't know if we want to go there.
What is going on with Toronto?
Well, it was a Monday game, but after a long weekend,
Monday or Thursday,
a Monday game after a Friday long weekend.
Hey, is MLSE?
Yeah,
are they really trying to help this league? Because I remember hearing in the offseason that the guys really wanted to get into USFL. They really wanted to try and get into another American league. And that's because, they got the Blue Jays and the Raptors and all that kind of crap. Man, I tell you what, Toronto is it's a huge city, man. I don't understand how you can't fill that thing up. Do it right, man.
And this is something. So I was talking to some people who were at the game in Toronto, and the television cameras are on the same side as the full grandstand. Right. So they're showing the empty grandstand on that other side. Meanwhile, all the fans are on the same side as the camera. So it doesn't show the full thing. But either way, it doesn't matter. That's Toronto's problem. That's we could do 5 hours on that issue in Toronto, in Montreal, in Vancouver, and the rest. I want to talk about the number one thing Blue Bombers fans are concerned with right now, Chris. And it comes in the same department that you used to man during your illustrious CFL career. And that is at the point of attack, on the line of scrimmage, the Blue Bombers offense, and particularly the run game. Brady Oliveira averaged 4 yards per carry against Toronto, 7 carries, 28 yards. Greg McRae had 3 kind of in the sweep game for 18 yards. Kolaris was the third leading rusher with 2 carries for 11 yards. Johnny Augustine, just 1 carry. He did have 2 catches for 19. Oliveira had 3 catches for 6 yards. Nothing was working in the short passing game and the swing pass game, the screen game, and in the run game. Is there a problem in Winnipeg? Where is the issue, Chris?
Well, I don't think to me, it's again, we talked about this last week. For me, it's all about getting used to the line. But I mean, your running back can make your O-line look great, and your O-line can make your running back look great. It works hand in hand. I really want to see, and listen, I like Brady. I'm surprised, as you hear every week, O'Shea saying, well, we're going to give, sprinkle both those guys in there. And then they put McRae in there on sweeps. But yet Johnny getting one carry was a little mind scratching to me. He's more of a powerful north-south runner.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, I think so, but I mean,
in space, he can go north-south and make guys like miss.
But then again, Brady's a bigger back as far as size.
Yep.
But you can't start dancing. You're not meant to be a dancer.
Okay. So I was talking to someone last night who was in Blue Bombers training camp, like a player on the field. And they described Brady Oliveira's, and they've watched all the Bomber games this year. And they were in preseason games, and they said Brady Oliveira is a patient runner. He's waiting for those gaps to open. So is this a chemistry thing? Is this a gel thing?
100%.
Like, can that take time, Chris, with the running backs you played with?
Absolutely. 100%. When we played, and I don't want to, I sound like when I went to school, I went uphill both ways. You're thinking about it. Willie Reeves, horse. Michael Richardson, horse. Blaze Bryant, horse. I think we won the rushing title. Like, I don't remember 9 out of whatever, 10 years out of the 16 I played. But the fact is, they have one thing in common: hit the hole. We used to have a guy, Spike. We call him Pat Cantner, but we call him Spike. Hey Spike, because he'd run into your back. He knew he had to go into A gap or the B gap, and you be there, he'd run right into it because he was so determined to go in that gap. He'd go 100 miles an hour with a helmet right in the back. But he was taught, get through there, number 33, boom, and he'd hit it. I want to see some more of that. You watched Andrew Harris last week against Toronto. If he's going A gap, he's hitting A gap. I heard some guys just saying, why don't we trade for, Andrew again? And
that
kid that played for Calgary. He played too. But you know what? It's one game does not make us a year or a hero. But I think that we need to be more aggressive. Absolutely. And I'm talking, at the point of attack as well.
So Adam Draward.
Maybe we shouldn't be running between guard and guard. Let's do some 44 searches, what we used to call off tackle, between the guard and the tackle. More of those type of runs. Right now, it seems we're doing a lot of what I call dives, which is
it's a zone run scheme, right? So I think they're waiting, like Brady Oliveira or whomever is carrying the football, he's waiting for that zone to mature, and then you see where you can run. Right?
But where's the counters?
Well,
the counters guys used to pull left guard, left, right, whatever, right?
Well, here's the thing. Adam Draward brings up something I've heard from a lot of fans lately. Peyton Logan is Kadeem Carey's backup in Calgary. And he had the kick return touchdown or punt return, I can't remember, for Calgary against Edmonton last night. He filled in awesome in week 3 for Calgary. He was lights out, just as good as Kadeem Carey. Adam saying we should try to pry him, or Winnipeg should try to pry him out of Calgary. Looks like the real deal. Have a Kadeem Carey. They're not getting rid of that sort of thing.
No.
Are the Calgary Stampeders going to do anything to help their biggest threat in winning the West this year? Is Calgary going to help Winnipeg at all? No, I don't see that happening. John Hofnigel's not going to be like, oh, you guys need a running back? Here, have this great one.
And you should be one thing you have to be worried about. And I tell you this, Bo Levi's getting better again.
He is.
Bo Levi is throwing the ball well. And who's that kid, number 82? Oh, he's a speedster. He caught it. He's got a bunch of catches yesterday. One for a big touchdown.
Malik Henry.
Oh my God! Has that guy got some wheels? He made that catch on the sideline where I thought the DB had it. He caught it, turned it up. He went for 70 yards, 60 yards for a touchdown. They've got some weapons over there, buddy. It used to be all about Kamar Jordan and stuff like that. But you're right. This Peyton logo, but that's why I digress. I don't want to get too caught up on a guy that plays good for 2-3 games. You need to impress me over a season. And that's why when I start talking about guys like, Adam Bighill, if Brandon Alexander ever gets back, I don't know if he's going to come back, and then Winston Rose. Well, that's another guy we should talk about who really had a comeback. He played well last week on that wide side of the field.
I'm going to put a cap on the run game conversation by saying this, as Waiters mentions in the live chat. Running game isn't very creative.
It's not creative.
I don't think a new player is going to
No.
fix the fortunes of the Blue Bombers run game or the offense. What I think is important on Saturday night is that Winnipeg's offense opens up a little bit and they get out of this style they've been playing with a bruiser Hall of Famer like Andrew Harris and start letting the reigning MOP, the guy who is 22-2, 22-1 in meaningful games as the Blue Bombers starter. Let Zach Collaros stretch the field. Get the pass game going. I know Nick Dembski is not there, but Brendan O'Leary Orange, you know I'm a big fan of his. He's somebody who can come on. Dalton Schoen, Greg Ellingson, Rashid Bailey. Use those guys. Bring in a Janarian Grant and let him run some flies. See if he can take the top off a defense or pull safety help away. That all said, Chris, often overlooked in the BC Lions, because Nathan Rourke and the offense scoring all those points are getting all the love and attention, their defense is ridiculously good this season. Ryan Phillips, their defensive coordinator, is a young coordinator, time with the BC Lions as a player. But like, here's the thing. I could be naming an all-star team at defensive back right now by naming corner, Gary Peters, halfback, Marcus Sales, halfback, TJ Lee, corner, Delvin Breaux, dimebacker, Luchez Purifoy. I would take most of those guys over almost anybody else in the league on a good day. Like they are stacked. Then you have Bo Lacombo at weak side linebacker, who was all-star last season. You got Tim Bonner at defensive tackle. You got Betts and Guacham. They've got really, really good players. They were able to go out and bolster in free agency because they're only paying their starting quarterback like $150,000.
This is such, oh man, you just hit a freaking nerve. This is one of my pet peeves about the league.
Okay.
And it's been for a long time. Paying one guy so much money that you deplete the money available to everybody else drives me up a freaking wall.
Yep.
I can't stand it. Now they got Nathan Rourke, as you say, making way less than, I think Michael Riley was making $750,000 or something like that. Look at the guys you got. Like you said, seriously, Purifoy, you look at Bolacombo, you look at Jordan Williams, who was the Canadian rookie last year, I think. This is a team in secondary, number one in pass defense, 209 yards allowed. They have not allowed a passing touchdown. Much like the Bombers, who have not allowed a running touchdown, they have not allowed a passing touchdown. This is a very good defense. They got this kid who I really am looking at, want to watch, Sione Tahime. I think that's what his name is. He's out of Southeast Louisiana. He had 3 sacks.
Oh, Tuhema. Yeah.
Tuhema.
He wears 47 on the defensive end. That's a weird one. He wears number 47 as a defensive end.
Yeah, but I mean, I looked at the stats. I remember I watched him. I think he was up. I think he was player of the week one time. I think he was. But I mean, they have a very good defense.
David Menard, I didn't even mention.
What's that?
David Menard.
You know, David Menard is a backup now. He's a backup.
Well, he was a backup last year too, and he was named an all-star in the East Division.
You know what? If I was a coach, the guy that I'd like to see more stuff, and I remember he came out of college, Matthew Betts.
Matthew Betts
went down the NFL, had a trial with Chicago, and he came to Edmonton, and I just was not impressed with him. And he's getting better, and he's getting, they're giving him a little bit more time. And he's developing now. I want to see something out of him. I always look at players who, when they go, they have a little tryout in the NFL, they have a cup of tea. They're all like, I tried out with this team. I tried out with that team. You know what? I wouldn't give you a shake or a salt for that. I need to see what you do. They're dressing 9 defensive linemen. Now, whether that one scratched before the game, we don't know, right?
Yeah, they could easily go with that.
But I mean, they got they have a good defense. I like their offense. Keon Hatcher, Lucky Whitehead. I mean, Lucky's got an ankle. It seems like every time the Bombers play, Lucky's hurt.
Right.
Remember last week he was hurt. Last year he was hurt. Now he's got an ankle problem, but he's going to play.
Yeah, no, he practiced fully Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah. So,
and he's got speed. And this Keon Hatcher kid is really coming to his own.
A big body and good hands. Like he went off last week, right?
It's just, to me, and you got Sean White. So let's talk about kicking right now. I mean, 6 for 6, as long as a 50.
Oh, he's the veteran. He's the godfather of the CFL kicking game right now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been around since Moses part of the Red Sea. But yeah. And then you got Stephen Flintloft. Flintoff.
I don't know who you're talking about. Who's that?
The punter.
Oh, well, now we're talking about BC's punter. Are you expecting them to punt lots?
Yes. Mark Leg. I'm just trying to segue into Mark Leggio.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Leggio had a pretty good game last week against
10 for
Toronto. 10. Yep. He's getting the job done. He's missed a convert and everybody was losing their minds back in week 2. But through 4 weeks, he's looked pretty good and he's punting well as well. I think that's way on the back burner of concern right now.
I think that was the biggest thing. He's punting people out. He's not giving up the 2 points, on a safety. He's averaging 40, if I looked at it right, 47.3. He leads the league in 6 singles. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, because obviously
I don't know if it is, but
I mean, I always look at the guys that put it and punt it inside the 10. Those are the things I look for a kicker, right? I don't know if they're keeping good stats on that yet, but I'll say this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the kicker, but Mark Leggio, for a guy that we really poured the hot tar on for a while, he's really coming on, and I'm happy for the young man. He's kicking the ball well. You saw, what's his name, Edmonton yesterday, missed one. Sergio Castillo.
Yep.
And that was returned for a 122-yard touchdown.
That was Peyton Logan. Yep. All right. So, it was the miss. Yeah, I was calling it a kicker.
You want to ever watch a funny film? Watch kickers try and tackle. It is hilarious.
Well, there's some good YouTube mashups.
Oh, my God. Sometimes, I mean, Bob Cameron used to be our punter, and he would chase. And he's a great athlete. He used to run 5 miles every day before practice. But if he had to tackle somebody, it would almost look at him like he had 2 anchors in his pocket. He would just be rolling around trying to get out of the film view. Get out of the camera, they say. Don't roll away, because you don't want to be caught in that film.
So, Adam Draward, another good question on the live chat here on Game Day Winnipeg. The Bombers missed out on signing Micah Awe. Not sure why they didn't sign him. Awe asked to be released by the BC Lions because he was not a starter. Winnipeg was not going to give anybody a starting job just joining the team. That's not how Mike O'Shea does it. They're always going to give the capable guy, has to be capable, the capable guy who's been there from day one, and that's Malik Clements. I think they really like Malik Clements. I think he's got all of the tools to do it. It just makes you wonder if, or maybe concerned a little bit when Jesse Briggs is on the 6-game injured list, and Winnipeg, outside of Big Hill and Clements, they have a bunch of Canadians. They have Les Maruo, the global player, and they have nobody on the practice roster. So in a pinch right now, it's Shane Gauthier. I would imagine they'd put him at middle and put Big Hill at weak side if they needed to, or put Gauthier in the middle if something happened to Biggie. Les Maruo, very athletic and fast and a good tackler, but not a lot of experience in pro football, just in his second year with the Blue Bombers and coming out of the global program. He's essentially an NCAA rookie, right? So I think Winnipeg is okay for now, but they're starting to get thin at an important spot in this defense. Nathan Rourke, I don't think he's going to care who he's playing against. He's going to attack, right?
I think they're going to try and live what they got, and they're looking for somebody to get cut. So they must have their eyes. You know that Danny McManus and that whole scouting department, I've got eyes on the NFL cuts. They're looking at guys that maybe they had on their negotiation list, and they're saying, if this guy comes up, he's a guy we might want to spend a little money on to get him up here. Right now, they've got enough talent. Obviously, they missed Jesse Briggs. Jesse Briggs, obviously, filled in admirably last year. They're a little thin there, buddy, to be honest with you.
Yep.
If Clemens goes down, did they put Shane over there? Did they put Tanner Codwaller? I don't know. I'd probably go with Shane Gauthier because he's been there longest, more of a special team kind of cat, but maybe they move somebody else over there, but it's this is a year. Remember last year? I don't think we had any really serious injuries. Did we last year?
Well, it was Mercy Maston again.
Yeah.
Josh Johnson broke his jaw in week 1 and never played again. Not sure who else they lost last year.
That's what I'm saying. But you look at this year: Couture, Kyrie, Maston. Alexander's not in there. I mean, they've got some serious big names who are not on the roster anymore. Yep. And you're right. This talking about Clemens is 6 foot. Malik is 6 foot 225. Good size for a linebacker.
Yep.
But you can't teach a
Like
linebacker instinct.
Who cares if he's a little short? Do you think Adam Big Hill's 6 foot tall? He's the best player in the league last year.
Absolutely. You know what? And that's the best way to answer that question. You have to have instinct. You have to have a nose for the football. You have to not be scared to put your helmet into somebody. So, I mean, it just drives me crazy. I mean, I like these kids. I like their scouting department. I like what Kyle Walters is doing this team. And you know what? We're 3-0 guys. We're not 0-3. And I know people get zoomed out of their head because, we're not running the ball right yet.
Winnipeg
has not a race.
Winnipeg has 2 wins against Ottawa, who is winless. They have a win against Hamilton, who is winless. They have a win against Toronto, who fell backwards into a win, their only win against the Montreal Alouettes on a missed 27-yard field goal from David Cote of the Alouettes. Like, they haven't faced a good team yet. They just hang on. Now they enter Vancouver on Saturday against a team that is red hot, winning football games, undefeated, rested, and Winnipeg had 5 days off. This is a short week for them after traveling 3 time zones with a pit stop, obviously.
Okay.
In Winnipeg. The task is as difficult this game as it has been all season, Chris. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'll say this. When I was blown away as anybody that Beatty missed the extra point to go to overtime. Mm-hmm. But Toronto outscored us, and this never happens. The Bomber defense is stellar, but they outscored us 19-6 in the second half. That's the first time that we've been outscored in the second half.
Yep.
Moving the football. McLeod Bethel Thompson, who started off just stupid, throwing 2. The 1 interception, okay, short. The one he tried to throw out of bounds and got intercepted by, I believe it was Nick Taylor. Mm-hmm. Bonehead, throw it out of bounds. Come on, buddy. You know what? Or else get in the weight room. Just go crazy. But, I mean, he came on at the end, and he was throwing like what? I think he was at one time 10 for 10. They started to get momentum. Big Mo was on their sideline for a while. And I thought for sure, I actually thought to myself, if they get this overtime, they're going to give us a good run and win the football game.
Toronto's offense came on after a rough quarter and a half. Like the second, like the latter part of the second quarter, McLeod Bethel Thompson started clicking. Going into the third quarter, he completed 10 consecutive passes before hitting Brandon Banks out of bounds on the far sideline. Like, they were moving the football. Andrew Harris was all over the place. He was running extremely effectively. Winnipeg is not impervious.
The one thing I'm going to say about that too, and it's funny because everybody talks about Andrew Harris, and I don't want to blow Andrew Harris any more than I have to, but one of the nice things he does, he's a great blocker. And I watched him in that second half picking up blitzes, allowing McLeod Bethel Thompson to get some balls off. But having said that, the Winnipeg surprised me a little bit with the sideline. They kept doing the quick pass to the sideline, and they got killed.
Hitch, yeah.
I mean, it seemed like every second down, when we need yards, we're trying to do the flat pass. I was blown away by that. And so many times we couldn't convert on second, and they'll say that, couldn't convert on second down. Now we're putting the ball away. Yeah. I'm not sure about that play call.
Well, that's like what you and I were talking about earlier in the show, is the concern of this Blue Bombers offense. And is it the play calling? Is it the lack of a deep threat? Is it the lack of a tailback? Or, is the offensive line just not as good without Drew Desjardins next to Stanley Bryant? I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I had personnel people in the CFL, like, GMs, scouts, the like. They all said the same thing in 2021. The left side of Winnipeg's offensive line was an absolute brick wall. Teams wouldn't even try to penetrate through Drew Desjardins and Stanley Bryant. You now have Jeff Gray there. All respect to Jeff Gray, good football player, but Drew Desjardins is in the NFL right now, trying out for the New England Patriots for a reason. Stanley Bryant is, Stanley Bryant for a reason. Those two together were impenetrable. Now Winnipeg has a more inexperienced and player in Jeff Gray at left guard. They've lost their starting center in Michael Couture. So you got Chris Kolinkowski, who I think has done okay there.
Yep.
But it's just not the same group. Pat Neufeld is a year older. Jamarcus Hardrick is a year older. He left the game twice last game, got his ankle rolled up on him, left the game another time. Stanley Bryant is a year older. These guys don't get faster with age, Chris. You can speak to that better than anybody.
You know, and it's funny you say that because when you have an offensive line that played almost every game together last year, I don't think anybody missed it because there was Patty there. I think of Patty, and then you had your left guard, Desjardins. They were always there all season long. Now you got two new guys, so it's a chemistry thing again, right? Learning to work with Chris Kolinkowski. You know, he's playing his third game, I think, or second, third game now.
Third game. Yeah.
Jeff Gray's his first year starting. I mean, yeah, and then you look at a guy that I got more love for is sorry about that, boys. I'm going to church tomorrow.
Girls, the ladies.
Ladies, sorry about that.
Sorry too.
My mistake. I thought I was in the locker room there for a second. Yeah. But Marcus Hardrick, that kid showed me some guts, man.
Yep.
Left the game. I said, "Oh, we cannot lose this guy. You cannot." He's the leader of that O-line, vocal downfield, running in practice. He's the Energizer Bunny. And he came back from two times, and I thought to myself, that shows me guts. That's a guy I want to play with. For me personally, kudos to number 51.
Yeah, no question. He's just as valuable as Stanley Bryant. Winnipeg does not want to be without either of those tackles. And just imagine, too, if an injury happened to a tackle early in a game, what does Winnipeg do? They put Pat Neufeld at that tackle spot.
Yeah, Neufeld go there.
But then suddenly, you're wondering, I got to take a guy off the practice roster and put him at tackle? That's tough when it's been Hardrick and Bryant for so long, and they've been so good. We were talking about this on the postgame show, Chris, which, by the way, thanks to everybody for the support. Numbers off the charts. And if you haven't yet, subscribe on YouTube and give us a thumbs up and comment. It helps us out a lot. Appreciate all the thumbs up you guys can give me and Chris Walby. Where is that here? Yeah,
I'm going to
go
Walby
over. Says, give him a thumbs up, brother.
No, I'm going to go wash my mouth out like my mom used to do to me when I swore. That was a bad slip, but you know what? This is the problem. DB, you know this as well as I do.
YouTube. This is YouTube.
It's YouTube, but when I get emotional about stuff, sometimes things come out that shouldn't come out.
Well, I don't know if I'll be blamed, but I'm not editing that out of the podcast.
No. I mean, I'm okay. Actually, if somebody, never mind. I'll talk about that after. But anyway, I guess last week somebody sent me a good friend of mine, Larry Mueller in Saskatchewan, somehow got the Twitter feed that when we were trying to get it hooked up, and I couldn't get the computer to work with me.
Right.
And I was dropping a couple bombs. And
yes, you were
dropping some bombs.
Oh, really?
Said, yeah, potty mouth. Yeah. Oh,
well, I see your lovely wife behind you before we go on air sometimes, and you're like, this stupid blanking thing and blanking son of a.
No, I don't swear.
And I'm just like, oh, Vera, poor lady. She's got to put up with this guy trying to work.
My wife's in Germany right now. I'm by myself, me and the dog.
So that's why you're no sleeves today.
No sleeves, baby, because I'm still got
look at those pythons. Woo! It's getting hot here on Game Day Winnipeg.
She's gone for 2 weeks.
Man.
And I'm just
maybe if the Blue Bombers need a tackle, they'll call you.
Yeah, for one play.
One play, and that'll be it. The knees go or what?
Oh, my whole body would go. Now I'm just for looks now, buddy. I tell you right now, I'm just like a pitcher. That's it. I mean, you don't want to be. I don't know if I get in a stance I can get back up.
Well, as Louis Batista says, watching live on YouTube, Walby for Prime Minister. So you don't have to worry about your knees with that job.
Don't even get me going on that.
I don't want to get you going on politics. We're going to hear more than one.
That's another story. Carbon tax. Oh, don't get me started. Okay.
Chris, I know you're an offensive guy, right? Yeah. Not like, well, your language tonight, definitely offensive. But no, like you're an offensive player. But when you know what makes a good offense click, and you also know what a defense can do to throw an offense off. What do the Blue Bombers need to do to limit, contain, and ultimately stop Nathan Rourke from continuing his 300-yard passing performances and running performances every week?
Well, these guys are scouting, DB. The Bombers offense, Buck Pearson and the whole crew are Richie Hall on defense is scouting. And, the one gentleman that made that comment about the slam pattern, very smart, very astute of him.
Yep.
But I mean, you got to bring pressure. First off, if you're going to rush 3 or rush 4, and he's going to pick you apart. But I'll say this: and I always loved this, and the guy Don Matthews, rest in peace, was one of the best coaches and also defensive minds that ever was involved in the CFL. He would drop that defensive end, bring him up, take a stop, and go back, and he'd take away that slant. So now you've got a defensive end in the flat. Your linebacker's still inside of him, and you're taking away that little slant pattern. He was just great, man.
Yeah. Well, and for Winnipeg, sending those blitzes like the Blue Bombers have done quite a bit this year, I think will be important. You want to pressure Nathan Rourke. You want to make him process quickly, right? So send Big Hill, send Rutledge, maybe even send a corner at times. Like they like running that corner blitz. One thing we haven't mentioned, Chris, when it comes to the Blue Bombers defensive secondary is Demario Houston. This team, as we talked about last week, moved on from Taekwon Glass, probably a salary cap move more than anything. But putting Demario Houston in the lineup, he didn't take Taekwon Glass's job. He took Winston Rose's job, and they've moved Winston Rose to the other side of the field side. So Rose gets a lesser matchup. Demario Houston takes on wide receiver 1. He will be taking on Lucky Whitehead. And I think that's a good matchup for Winnipeg on Saturday, Chris, because we know Lucky is lightning fast. Demario Houston is also lightning fast. He is a kick returner and a defensive back. He has speed to burn. I think that's the guy you want on Lucky Whitehead no matter what. But when you take a second-year player off the practice roster, like Demario Houston, and you put him at boundary corner and you move your veteran all-star and guy who just came back from the NFL and Winston Rose to the field side, this is an upgrade to the Blue Bombers defensive secondary. Everybody's waiting for Brandon Alexander. They've got their upgrade last week in Demario Houston.
Well, here's the deal, too. I don't want to contradict you, even though I'm going to right now.
Do it.
I want you to tell you, because everybody thinks about the wide side and the short side all the time. But remember, the hash marks are in the middle now. They moved the hash marks. They're 9 yards apart.
Yep.
So there is no more real short side of that field. So if we're in the middle of the field, I basically got both sides that are wide. So not to contradict you, but yeah, I think that they can go after Rose if they were going to go after Rose, depending on where he is. I think in the old days when the hash marks were wider and you had it was a lot harder of a throw for a quarterback to make on the wide side, which I don't think is the same as it is now.
Right. No, that's absolutely fair. I was talking to somebody in Vancouver earlier today, and they're saying how their defensive backfield, and maybe I can pull it up here, their 2 DBs in Gary Peters and Delvin Breaux, they're both so good that they don't even rotate them left and right. Field side and boundary.
Yeah.
These 2 guys here, Gary Peters and Delvin Breaux at corner, they just put them on the left and the right. They don't move them around. If Winnipeg, sends their WR1 to one side or their wide receiver 1 to the other side, they just stay. I think that helps a lot in some situations where, you don't have to mess around too much with, is the sideline to my back, or is the sideline, to my left back, or is it to my right back when you're changing sides of the field? So maybe an advantage there for the Lions.
Well, no, there's another reason, buddy. When you keep them together, that means that TJ Lee and Breaux are playing together all the time. Peters and Marcus Sales.
No, they would be too. They would be too.
You know what I mean? So it's a continuity thing, especially if you got switching when a receiver is coming and you got to switch off, or do I go over the top? One of the things that BC hasn't done, they haven't had. I think I can't remember how many big plays they've given up over 30 yards, but not many. And that's the thing when you see breakdowns. When I see Toronto, when BC beat the crap out of Toronto, so many wide open receivers, broken coverage left and right. That's just guys not knowing their assignment or thinking somebody's got their back when there's nobody there. So, listen, BC's got a good team. You got to love who they are, man. I mean, I think that.
You think this is going to be a tight game? You think it's going to be a battle to the finish? Or do you think, maybe BC can elevate and give Winnipeg their first loss this season?
I will say this. I don't think it's
like, where are you handicapping this game?
You know what? I don't know where I'm handicapping that game, but I'll be honest with you. I think this is going to be a very tough game to win on the road. I used to hate playing in BC. You know, they always had big crowds. It was a tough place to play. Once the crowd gets behind you and you get a little momentum, it's just like, God dang, when's the bus leaving? So, you know, I'm looking forward to it. I just think you got to play games with Nathan Rourke. He's a rookie. In my mind, he's still a rookie. So what I want to do is I'm going to bring up Malcolm Thompson, make him look like it's cover zero where there's nobody in the back. And what cover zero means, your safety comes up to the line and there's a big gap behind him. But what they do, the good defenses will rotate. They'll put somebody back. So it'll be Malik Clements maybe going back and dropping into the safety spot. But once the quarterback sees, you know, Malcolm Thompson, he thinks, oh, it's wide open. Let's go deep. And it's not there. It's just a game of cat and mouse with these guys. And that's how they have to play.
So I'm pulling up the numbers here on sportsinteraction.com, and the Bombers right now 3.5-point underdogs to the BC Lions. And as you see here, the line has moved from 3 to 3.5. I've even seen 4 at some places and 4.5 points. But interesting that Winnipeg is that much of a dog with 2 undefeated teams. I guess they're just not giving them a ton of respect. This is interesting here. Money line is at 240, which means if you put $100 down on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, you'll win $140. Like, you'll come out with 240. That's a great number for Winnipeg to just win by 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's really something to me. Over under is 50.
You know what? Sorry, DB. I'm just happy to get 10 cents a bottle or empty. I'm not a gambler. I'm terrible gambler, buddy.
No, me neither. I'm trying to learn it a little bit because it's becoming a big part of the game and the culture and the rest. But you're getting 10 cents an empty. I'm getting 10 cents a pound because I've got, you know, bubbly and Diet Coke cans that I'm bringing to just the aluminum.
You're healthy.
Recycle place.
You're healthy.
Yeah, I don't drink Diet Coke though. That's stuff.
Oh, don't. That's the worst thing. Aspartame, people, get away from aspartame.
Yep, really bad for you. But beer is good for you, isn't it?
Barley.
Still waiting for that sponsorship to come through.
Yes.
I don't know what you guys are waiting for. Give me a call. The number is right here, 816-TIPS, 816-8477. Here's what I'm telling everybody out there to do. Call or text this number during the game. Game day after dark, Saturday night, maybe about 15, 20 minutes after the game, we'll get going live. Another surprise guest coming up Saturday night who will join me for the post-game show. Call the number, text the number during the game. If you see something you don't like, boom, hit the number. We will get to those questions and comments live on the air right here on Bonfire Sports during the post-game show. You got final thoughts, Chris? You got keys? What's it going to take for Winnipeg to beat this seemingly unstoppable Lions train?
Well, I think for me, I mean, obviously, I think that we got to stretch the defense. I think you hit on that, and I liked what you said. 2 points. 1, stretch the defense. Zach, go deep. How many times we see Ellingson get open now? Go deep, as Dalton shown. You know, just and Rashid Bailey is going to have a breakout game eventually. Wolotarski played good last time. And on defense, it's disguise your coverage. Don't line up in it. Do a great job of bringing the blitz after or before, you know, so he can't get a pre-snap read on you. This kid is young, but he's pretty smart. Comes from a good pedigree, played in a great college program. You got to have to really confuse him to make him make mistakes. And, you know, one good thing about the Bombers, they've won the turnover battle every week, and that has allowed them to win every game. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
I like that. Barflies has a good take and saying, got to move the pocket around a little bit. That might help take some pressure off of a pass rush from the BC Lions. That's been pretty good this year. Gregory, you're telling me if I've got to learn gambling, I should be around Hustler. Yes, I have made some phone calls and chatted with Hustler about that. Comet is mentioning that Lucky Whitehead is listed as questionable for Saturday night. I will re-clarify this as I have in shows past.
Yes,
because it's important with the new injury reporting guidelines that the CFL has put out with the daily injury reports. If a player at any time during the week, if a player is a game day scratch, a healthy scratch, they will be listed on the injury report the next week. Or if a player misses any sort of practice or takes half a practice off at any time during that week, they are officially questionable for that game. It doesn't matter if you're on the injury report at any time during the week, you are questionable for the game. Lucky Whitehead practiced fully on Wednesday and Thursday. Friday is a walkthrough. Saturday is the game. Lucky Whitehead is going to be good to go against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And I'm really looking forward to that matchup with Demario Houston, two guys that are real burners. I like this from Travis. He says, bombs. That's not just my nickname. I think that's what it will take Winnipeg to open things up on offense. Start stretching the field, send some guys down, take some shots, keep that vaunted BC Lions defensive secondary honest. The one non-standout all-star on the BC Lions is their safety, and that is Quincy Mauger, a first-year player out of the University of Georgia. TJ Lee, I wouldn't throw at him too much. He could be the best defensive back in the CFL. Delvin Breaux, Gary Peters, those guys are excellent. We all know what Marcus Sales can do with his ball skills and agility in going up and knocking balls away. The BC Lions have a great pass defense, but Zach Collaros has got to earn his paycheck as the highest paid player in the CFL, Chris. He needs to make things happen with his arm on Saturday.
I agree 100%. And all great points. I mean, I'll just add to the one thing you said, and that is when you stretch a defense, you want the defensive backs to run with your receivers. You don't want the game to be played in front of the DBs. If the DBs can see the quarterback and see the receiver, it's tough to win. But if you get the guys to turn and run with them, you got opportunities to get behind them or get in front of them and not play honest. You just got to make them think. Don't make the game easier than it has to be.
No, and just mentioning to Gunners Bootkins, he mentions no closed captioning during the show. Big supporter of the channel. Apologies. Can't do any closed captioning during live broadcasts, but they will be up on the live, on the replay. And of course, as always, we will have all of this available on your favorite podcast app. Support has been great. Be sure to join us for the post-game show. Chris, you and I will be back at it Thursday with the Calgary Stampeders in Winnipeg in 7 days' time on Friday night.
Oh, they play on Thursday? Okay, that's
no.
Right.
We're going to do our show on Thursday, as always, the day before the game at 3:00.
Oh, I might go on a canoe trip.
Oh, come on.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, you should see him in a canoe. It looks like I'm holy because you can't even see the edge of the canoe. Just like me, I'm floating on the water, paddling water. They look at that Walby. Oh, he's a saint. Anyway, hey, listen, have a great day. I got to go back out. I'm working on the deck. Going to have a great weekend. Hopefully if the rain stops. I hope it doesn't rain tomorrow, but love you guys. Bombers win tomorrow. I'm not going to give you the score, but we'll talk soon. Adios, my brother.
Hey, and Chris, no Irish cream. Get some Irish Spring in your mouth. Foul.
Irish Spring. You know what? I used to drink Irish cream too. That was good stuff.
Yeah, well, you need Irish Spring for the way your lips are wagging today.
I made one mistake, Klua, there.
Well, like you said, you hold your teammates accountable for their mistakes, so that's all I'm doing.
That's right.
Okay?
Hey, listen, I love the fact that you are giving away free hats all week.
I gave away free golf last week. We're going to try to do a little bit more of that.
That's right. And I might even have a couple. Well, no, this week, and I know that
I see your bonfire hat there. There it is, right there.
That's right there.
Yeah,
right
you're
there.
keeping it clean. I appreciate that. You're not wearing it around the bonfire at the lake, Chris. I appreciate that.
No. All right, buddy. Love you guys. Great game. Great fun. Talk soon. I got to go and you're right. I got to have a soda. Bye-bye.
Cheers, everybody.